Woo! How's it going, everybody? Thank you all so much for chiming in for the latest post-game show here on WardyNYM as we are breaking down a Mets victory after a little losing skid in the three-game set against the Padres. The Mets bounce back tonight and end the one-game winning streak for the Angels. They've now lost, I believe 15 other past 16 games. Again, we'll be breaking down everything that there is to know about this Mets victory. 7-3 in the series opener against these LA Angels as the Mets now look for the series victory tomorrow. Again, it's going to be a huge game tomorrow. I'm very excited, and I'm really, really pumped up to break down and really share my reaction to everything that just transpired in this Mets victory, folks. I want to thank everyone so much for just chiming in. I really do appreciate it. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on as you're just chiming in live or on replay, folks. It's over 1 a.m. Eastern time here, but it doesn't matter. I'm pumped up. I know you guys are too. A massive Mets victory. The offense was clicking. Tyler Megill, Big Drip Megill, as we love to call him. My girl Julie, the Megill family, was all at the game. You'll love to see that. They were having a great time. I had some buddies meet up with her, and they were all saying that she was doing awesome stuff. And Megill came out, and he got the job done. He had a perfectly fine first outing for the Mets through 64 pitches, gave up a couple earned in 3.1, but no less wasn't a detriment to the Mets whatsoever. Perfectly fine first outing back in this Mets rotation. David Pearson looked like a strong stud once more. The relievers got the job done for the Mets, and all in all, a truly strong victory for the Mets here as they, again, are getting this close to finally ending their 10-game West Coast trip. So, again, very pumped up. Continue smashing that like and subscribe button, folks. I want to shout out you all. Quick roll call. I do see some members. I do see some donations I'll be getting into here shortly. But first, let's break down everything that transpired in this Mets victory, guys. Why exactly do I have my Wardy's top 5 the way that I do? I also would like to apologize. I know that it says Wardy's top 3 in there. It's supposed to say Wardy's top 5. The only reason why it says Wardy's top 3 is because of the fact that the past couple games that I've done post games, that I couldn't justify having 5 players to talk about. So I narrowed it down from 5 to 3. But no less, that's just one error. I always have some type of typo going on here in the post-game shows. And tonight, it is Wardy's top 3 when it's supposed to be Wardy's top 5. So my apologies once more if you're wondering why it looks the way it does when I have 5 different players there, guys. But I'm pumped up. Let's break down this Mets victory because, again, the Mets entered this series, and I was pissed off just like most of you. Noah Syndergaard, the schmuck that he is, decides that, you know what, I'm not going to pitch in this series after all when he was supposed to pitch Sunday. Of course, Phil Nevin, who is the interim now manager after Joe Madden was relieved of his duties this year by the Angels during their losing streak, Nevin said that they want to give him extra rest. I'm sorry. I'm calling BS every single day of the week. Noah he's completely ducking the Mets. Can't tell me otherwise. That schmuck, keep him out west, the surfer boy, whatever he's going to do. All I know is that he's ducking us after saying that, the Mets no-hitter this year wasn't a real no-hitter. And literally after that comment, Noah and the Angels went on a complete downward spiral. So talk about karma, it definitely can be something of the beauty in disguise, at least for us Mets fans. But enough of me ranting about Noah. Let's talk about this Mets game because, again, Tyler Megill came out on the bump tonight, the first start that he has had in quite literally a month. Megill was placed on the IL for the Mets back around May 11th, and he comes out, makes his first start, gets a job done, a couple strikeouts, some nice 4 punchies there, 64 pitches. You'll love to see that. And again, kept the Mets in it. And one thing that was so crucial for the Mets tonight, folks, as we broke down in our series preview yesterday, as many of you guys, I'm sure, checked out already, thank you so much for that as well, was the likes of Pete Alonso being back in this lineup and playing at first base, so Alonso's fully healthy again from that hit by pitch. Talking about dodging a bullet, the Mets have done that numerous times now this offseason, and it looks like there's a solid chance the Mets may have Marte back in their lineup tomorrow. So that is even more phenomenal, knowing that these guys, they got hurt in the Padres series, but they're already back in this lineup. But one guy that I emphasize it was so crucially important for the Mets to step up this series, as long as, again, he's feeling better, is the likes of Brandon Nimmo. Because both Nimmo and Lindor they've been dealing with injuries. We know the story with Lindor with the wrist injury. Not the wrist injury. That's Nimmo. Lindor with his finger out west. But Nimmo's had that nagging wrist injury that he had the cortisone shot literally multiple series ago, going back to the Nationals or Philly series. And since then, he hasn't hit well, especially in June. Nimmo entered tonight's game, folks, with just around a 100 batting average and not even a 500 OPS, not even a 400 OPS, if my memory's not mistaken. He comes out tonight, and he is the Mets' best hitter, and he helps get the offense going early, as did the likes of Tomas Nido, and that being in Mark Canha. The Mets in the top of the second, folks, they're working on the bullpen for the Angels, because the Angels, by all means, had a bullpen game tonight, folks, which was awesome, not complaining there, and they took full advantage. And one thing that we've known so well about this Mets team, folks, is that every single time, more often than not, we've seen this year, when they win games, they're scoring early and often, right? They're scoring in either the first or second inning. It felt like the entire month of May, for the most part, the Mets were scoring at least one run in the first 2 innings. Now out west, it's been a little bit more difficult, but especially against a bullpen game of the Angels, they took full advantage as Tomasino gets his 6th RBI and as many starts over his past 5 times he has been the starting catcher for the Mets. You love to see that over his past 6 games. He gets himself the first RBI of the day that drives in Eduardo Escobar there in the top of the second. And then after that, Mark Canha gets himself an opposite field double to drive in a couple more runs for the Mets. Mark Canha had a beautiful day. He loves playing out west. He knows it well. He knows the Angels well during his time with the Oakland A's. So it was a great matchup there for Canha out west here. He's been thriving. Same thing with Eduardo Escobar and even with Nito. But no less, Canha had a massive day, just like Brandon Nimmo. Gets a couple RBIs there in the top of the second. And the Mets are quickly off and running to a early 3-0 lead. And now as the Mets, again, were matching up with, you had Jonathan Diaz, who was the reliever that got the start, gave up those 3 earned in the 1.2 innings, and the Mets continue to tack on more after that. And I do see a bunch of donations again this show, guys. Thank you all so much for that. Don't worry, I'll be addressing your donations, your comments, questions, and concerns here shortly. We'll be live for a minimum of an hour tonight, folks, but of course, I'll be breaking down further on the game. Then from there, I'll cut things off for people on replay, and I'll start answering your donations, comments, and if I'm feeling well enough, we may take some callers tonight. I can't guarantee it right now, however, just because, again, it's past 1 a.m. Eastern time. I'm not exactly sure how awake I'm going to be after ranting about this game for 20 minutes to a half hour straight. But no, let's deep dive in further. One guy that definitely was a pest for the Mets tonight was that being in Brandon Marsh, the lefty, kind of power hitting bat, at least tonight, for the Angels playing in the outfield. When no Mike Trout, as he's been dealing with some groin tightness, should be back in the line for them tomorrow, if not the series finale at the absolute worst. Marsh stepped up big for the Angels tonight and got a absolute piss missile off of Tyler Megill. A 2-run bomb there in the bottom of the second to quickly make it not just a 3-run ball game, but a 1-run ball game. And that was by far the worst pitch that we saw Megill throw tonight, because after that, he was cruising for the most part in his 3.1 innings pitch. Again, for his first outing back, I'm not complaining whatsoever with what Megill was able to provide for the Mets. And that is a great sign for him to build on and continue to work up that pitch count and the starts going forward every 5th day. So Marsh makes it a 1-run ball game, which was frustrating, don't get me wrong. But the Mets, they stay relentless. And who was the guy, again, that I talked about earlier? It was Mr. Brandon Nimmo, the man that's always pointing to the sky, thanking God every time he gets on base. This time he didn't just get on base. He rounded those bags beautifully with his first bomb since April, a solo shot there to give the Mets at that point a nice insurance run, now up by a couple, 4-2 here in the top of the 4th inning, folks. And then as we get to the top of the 6th, Brandon Nimmo does it again with a couple guys on base. The Mets take full advantage, just like you saw the likes of Mark Canha later in this one that you'll see here shortly. And of course, in the top of the 2nd, Brandon Nimmo with multiple guys on gets a beautiful place, and something that Nimmo has done so well this year is slapping the ball like Jeff McNeil opposite field, being that lefty hitter there for the Mets. And McNeil, I got to give credit to. He had a great game and also looked fantastic in right field. Had that beautiful diving catch there in the 9th for first pitch, first out there for Diaz, and I'll get to that more shortly. But Brandon Nimmo slaps that bad boy opposite field, gets himself another RBI double, and just like that, the Mets have themselves another couple runs, 2 RBIs, not 1, my mistake there, guys, and they at that point have themselves a nice commanding 6-2 lead, and they surely would never look back. Now, the Angels would, of course, tack on a run a little bit later in this one, but before we get there, Brandon Nimmo and Mark Canha, doing the great things that they have done all throughout the year, not just getting on base, but clutching up for the Mets more often than not. And Nimmo, he's not been known for being an RBI king. He definitely took his game to another level, which is huge, showing you that, yes, that wrist seems like it's feeling better. And Mark Canha has just been a hits machine this entire season. I just love talking about Mark Canha, guys, because I remember the amount of you schmucks, not many of you guys in the live show, but a lot of you fans out there that said that Mark Canha was a bad pickup for the Mets in the offseason, that, this guy can't play the outfield every day. He's strictly a bench player. Why? Because you casuals just looked at his low batting average last year and didn't understand the fact that he is, again, an on-base machine with hit by pitches, consistent walks, as a singles machine. But Mark Canha playing every 2 of 3 games on average this series because Buck is so great at utilizing every player in this lineup has really helped Canha hone in and have that high batting average and getting on base at a ridiculous clip. And like Nimmo, Canha did the exact same thing again tonight, getting himself another opposite field base knock to bring in another run for the Mets, and that would give them then a 7-2 lead, which you absolutely love. And something in between, we were watching this on Apple TV. I'm so happy that Wayne Randazzo was able to be part of that broadcast, because if Wayne wasn't there, my ears would have been bleeding. That's not an understatement. We know the case. I've loved Apple TV and what they're doing from a videography standpoint. I think that their videography has been far and away the best that we have seen from any MLB broadcast this year. But the broadcasting itself, the commentators, they haven't gotten the job done. Wayne did a phenomenal job, and it was awesome to hear Eduardo Escobar mic'd up. Love him, love his accent. I love everything he had to say, just being Mr. Positive. Yes, he got robbed of the stolen bag that ended up coming back for the Mets, but outside that, he had another good day at the plate that we'll be breaking down shortly. And overall, this Mets team just got rolling again. For the past couple days, without Alonso, without Marte, you could tell that this offense was getting shelled and early. This is a Mets offense that, when healthy, even with Marte out of the lineup, and even with all the things that you can connect, knowing that it was a bullpen game for the Angels, still did not stop them from taking full advantage of every opportunity given them, hitting for opposite field, getting those clutch hits with runners in scoring position with 2 outs, and again, just getting the job done. This Mets offense is elite. It's the best in baseball for a reason, and it does not get nearly enough credit that I truly and humbly believe it deserves, with trying to push as much bias aside as humanly possible. Because again, Mets have a loaded lineup, but again, they don't have the prettiest names, at least guys that you maybe didn't know too much of entering this season. And Mark Canha is by all means one of those biggest highlights that, again, deserves all the love in the world, and is by all means a guy that you can argue should be in the All-Star game this year. That is how well Mark Canha is playing at this point, folks. But to add on the final run for the Angels that we saw there, that'll be in the bottom of the 6th. Another bomb by Brandon Marsh, his second of the game. But thankfully, that is where things ended for the Angels and their runs. And I was so happy as well, I don't know about you folks, but to see Shohei Ohtani single-handedly pitch dominantly and hit greatly, hitting himself a bomb, a couple RBIs, and the Angels 5-2 or 5-3 win and their series finale against the Red Sox last night. I was pumped up because I'm like, there's no better time for the Angels to start winning than the game before they start their Mets series, because they were due. When you lose 14 straight games, it's inevitable that you're going to start winning, but are you going to start winning consistently? I don't know. But what I do know is that I do think it did benefit the Mets tonight just a little bit, knowing that the Angels were able to leg out and end that streak last night and not have maybe that pressure entering this series as much. And now they can continue their new losing streak, hopefully, as the Mets look for the series victory tomorrow night, folks. But as we get through the lineup, as we get through the pitching, that's what I like to emphasize. Tyler Megill, again, kept the Mets in it. Love to see that in his first start back. Again, 3.1 strong. David Pearson, who's been phenomenal as a starter/lawn reliever, the southpaw, who had himself in a jam, too, in his final inning, got out of it with a couple back-to-back strikeouts. In total, 2.2 innings pitched for David Pearson tonight. 3 hits, 1 earned run, 3 strikeouts. Did give up that 1 bomb to Marsh, lefty on lefty, the first bomb that Marsh has hit against a lefty all year long. But it didn't change the fact that it was unfazed for the likes of David Pearson. And he, again, innings eater for the Mets. David Pearson has truly been something special for this rotation, for this bullpen, and again, helping the Mets really not have to sacrifice nearly as much relievers on a game-by-game basis the way that Pearson has provided this club. But then going forward, Drew Smith, we saw there, had himself a scoreless inning. Drew Flo's getting back in the rhythm. He gave up a couple bombs over these past couple weeks, but he's looking better as of late. Joely Rodriguez gave up a single to a lefty, that being in Walsh, and then gave up a walk, but was able to get a massive strikeout on the last batter that he saw, and didn't give up any runs. Why? Because Adam Ottavino had himself another basically scoreless inning, got the final 2 outs. You love to see that. Adam Ottavino entering tonight's game, folks, had 14 straight games and 12 innings total, only surrendering 1 measly run so far. So over the past 2.5 to 3 weeks, Adam Ottavino has simply been one of the best relievers in baseball. He's having better command on his slider and that fastball, knowing when the timing is right to utilize really that 2-pitch mix. And that worked beautifully for the Mets to get out of the jam there that Joely started with absolutely no problem. And then Edwin Diaz with ease gets himself 2 strikeouts and a beautiful shutdown there in the 9th to give the Mets the victory. And I don't believe that was a save for Diaz, right? Because the Mets were already up by 4. I think it's a save situation if it's 3 or less, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, please make sure to let me know on the live show or on people on replay in the comments. Either way, Edwin was absolute money. He hasn't pitched since Sunday as well, but that did not stop him from making the Angels' hairs just look absolutely silly, folks. And just like that in a nutshell, that is exactly how the Mets were able to win this one. And again, I'll be answering your comments, questions, donations very soon to my 250 plus live viewers. I want to thank everyone so much again that's been chiming in the live show, especially here while you are live. Again, it's right around 1:30 a.m. Eastern time. I know that's not easy, even after a Mets victory, to want to actually muster up and chime in if you are here on the East Coast like myself. So trust me when I say I really appreciate you guys. But in a nutshell, let's break down Wardy's top 5, not top 3 that my dumb self has there on the graphic. You see Brandon Nimmo, you got to give him the number 1 star. He was absolutely phenomenal. 2 for 4 with the bomb, the double, the 3 RBIs, and the 2 runs scored. Mark Hanna, 2 for 4 with the double and the 3 RBIs. Eddie Escobar, we love Eddie Two Stacks, as I love to call him for whatever reason. Don't tell me why. Or Fogo, which I know is his nickname because he loves Fogo de Chao as his favorite restaurant. Love to see that. Escobar's 2 for 4 with the run scored. Jeff McHitz, 2 for 4 with the run scored. Tomas Nido, who again has 6 RBIs in his past 6 starts at the catching position. 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run scored. You love to see that from Nimmo, and you love to see this from the Mets too. Again, continue. The Mets still have yet to lose 3 consecutive games this year, folks. They've at most this point now 60 games into the season. This was their 60th game of the year, as a matter of fact, to get themselves in position where they've only lost 3 series this year, and they have not had a consecutive losing streak beyond 2 games at this point. Knocking on wood, because I don't want to jinx anything, of course. But with the Atlanta Braves winning their 9th straight game tonight, and with the Phillies winning their 8th straight, how much did they gain in the division tonight? Let me hear it. Oh, yeah, absolutely nada. Nothing. You love to see that. Why? Because the Mets are back, baby. They are rolling. They're healthy. Megill's back. Alonso's back. Marte should be back tomorrow or Sunday at the latest. This team's going to start cooking. They're going to head back home. And just like that, this Mets team is 1 win away from going above 500 here at the West Coast Strip, or at least at minimum finishing the West Coast Strip about 500, which is quite literally one of the best case scenarios given all things that transpired with the injuries to the Mets here out West, originally with Lindor, Alonso, Marte, the lack of pitching that we saw from Bassett as well. And again, I'm just awfully impressed with this team. I know that they had a clunker the past couple of games, but even though I wanted more offense, a lot of it was justified when you looked at it again. And losing Marte and Alonso was not easy. And seeing these guys back is huge. And hopefully they can continue to roll. And maybe, just maybe, the Mets, this could be the start of their longest winning streak of the season. Because one thing that's been so impressive about the Mets, but has also been a little confusing as well, is the fact that the Mets have been rolling. They've been one of, if not the best team in baseball, at least in the NL. But the biggest thing for them is they haven't had a prolonged winning streak really since the beginning of the season. So, and even the beginning of the season, they only had a 3-game winning streak, and then they lost that 4th and final game there in DC with Cookie Carrasco pitching an absolute gem. So, all things aside, this was a massive Mets win for them. Great things, getting off on the right foot. Hopefully, again, this is the start of something consecutively for the Mets in the win column going forward. But again, folks, I think it is now time to start breaking down all your thoughts, comments, and concerns, all that fun stuff, and the donations, of course. Thank you kindly for that. Continue smashing that like and subscribe on if you found yourself enjoying this kind of live show here live on replay. Help us get to 200 plus likes by the end of the live show. Be greatly appreciated. And for people on replay, this is where I'll be cutting things off. Not you guys in the live show. So let me know in the comments below. How do you feel after this massive 7-3 Mets victory to start things off on the right foot against an Angels club that, again, prior to last night, lost 14 straight games? They were without Mike Trout tonight, and they had a bullpen game. So what did the Mets do? They did basically everything humanly possible to make sure they were not losing this one, even with having a couple guys on and not executing enough early on with runs outside of what we saw there in the 2nd and also the 4th. This Mets team is rolling. They had 13 hits for a reason, a 303 expected batting average, and now let's see what they do for the remainder of the series. Let me know your thoughts down below. Smash that like and subscribe on. People in the live, let's answer all your comments, questions, and concerns. But people on replay, this is where we're going to cut things off.